there, this presentation is all about how to avoid getting in trouble for plagiarism in your artwork. What does plagiarism really mean? Plagiarism would be taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as your own. In the art world, plagiarism is a lot like copying, taking other people's images and then drawing them and then saying that those ideas are your own. In today's world, social media is king. Everybody has a social media account or two, and artists post images of their work online all the time. That means it's really easy to find images of some really interesting, cool artwork, and it's also really easy to copy those images that you see. This presentation is going to tell you some things about how to copy the right way and when it is not a good idea. Plenty of you probably like to go online and find images of cool artwork and then copy them by drawing them, and there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you do it the right way. So if you're copying as practice, to practice drawing in a different style, or to find inspiration because you're drawing things that you like, or because you're researching a subject and you're copying things because you want to get more familiar with them, that's fine, as long as you are not trying to pass those drawings off as your own work. Somebody else did that work before you. They came up with the idea. And so when you're copying their images, you can't say that it's your own work. If you're doing it as practice, that's fine. Just don't turn it in as an assignment. Don't submit it to an art contest. Those are ways for you to say, this is my work. And if it's not truly your original work, then it's a plagiarism problem. So if you are going to go online and practice by copying, that's fine, but avoid tracing. So the wrong way to copy images. Tracing really isn't teaching you a whole lot of anything. You're not practicing the drawing part at all. Tracing is something that you learned in elementary school, probably in your kindergarten class, was when you learned how to trace. Now, if you're practicing drawing, do it without tracing, and that'll help you learn to draw better. If you are submitting an assignment or turning something in to an art contest, make sure that those images are images that came completely out of your brain and your ideas and didn't start off as somebody else's images. Plagiarism is something you can get into serious trouble for. Now, I'm not sure how many of you actually remember seeing this image, but in 2008, an artist named Shepard Fairey created this poster. It became one of the most iconic and well-known images of the time. It's pretty famous, so I wouldn't be surprised if plenty of you have seen it before or images that are similar to it. But in 2009, it came out that the image that Fairey had used, that he had based his poster on, was actually a photograph by an Associated Press freelance photographer named Manny Garcia. Now, he was sued, and many years later, many lawsuits later, Fairey ended up with 2 years of probation, 300 hours of community service, and a fine of $25,000 because he based his artwork off of somebody else's photograph, and he didn't really change it very much. And you can hold up the photograph to his poster, and you can see that his image was something that he copied into a program and then changed the colors on. This is not changed enough to count as his own work, and that photographer owned the rights to that image that he had put into the news, and Fairey got in a lot of trouble. Now, using photographs or other types of artwork as reference images is a good thing to do. It's good to learn how to use images that you find on the internet the right way. So now I'm going to explain how you can take images that you are finding on the internet of other people's artwork or photographs and use them to help you in your artwork and not to copy them in your artwork for this assignment. The first thing you can do is something that I do a lot. Be inspired by images. So if you're going to study images that inspire you and look up a variety of images, that's going to help you to not just focus on one and end up copying it. So when you are looking up images, find many, find a whole bunch of them and look at them and study them, and you can copy them. But then when you're ready to start on the idea that you are working on for this project, put away the pictures that came from the internet, and then take everything that you just soaked into your brain and start drawing from that. That is one way to be inspired by images without copying them. You could also maybe start by copying, but change it a bit, and then draw it again, and then again, and each time you draw it, make little changes to it until, slowly but surely, it has become more your image than somebody else's. Changing things up is another really good way to get inspired by images without actually copying them. So when you're looking at an image you love, think to yourself, okay, what could you add to this image to make it more your own? What could you take away or remove from the image that would also change it up? You could change the location or the background behind an object or whatever it is. You could change the time of day, the colors that are used, the style that it's drawn in, but you have to change it enough that it is your image and it's no longer just like the image that you saw on the internet. Mixing up an image is another really nice way to avoid plagiarism. This is something that I do all the time also. So find multiple images that are similar to what you want to draw. Take pieces of the different ones and combine them into a new unique image. Meaning, if I am going to draw a bunch of huskies that are pulling a sled, I might go online and find 20 different images of huskies. And then while I'm putting the dogs together, I'm going to take the face from this one and the shape of the body from that one, the colors from a different one, and the way the paws are arranged from a completely different one, so that each dog actually came from 4 or 5 different images. When you mix up the pieces many times, you might end up with something super interesting and unique as well. That is one way to avoid copying one image, is by combining lots of different pieces until you have something unique. Always remember that an image needs to end up being 51% yours. So if you start off by looking at an image that somebody else made, then you need to change enough things about it until it is more your changes than it is their original drawing or whatever it was. So when you are making changes, one little change isn't going to be enough. You don't want to end up being like the guy who had to pay $25,000 because he made his artwork based off of a photograph that wasn't his. So 51% yours means that you have made quite a bit of changes, a lot of changes to it, until you ended up with something that was unique and different, that you could say, I made this from my own brain and my own creativity. I was just inspired by something that I saw. And when people look at it, they'll see your work. They won't see the work of the original image that you were looking at. That's your goal when you're trying to get inspiration from an image and not copy it exactly.